eventually you get tired of hearing the same voice sometimes. You just need a different viewpoint.
Right, exactly. And then that's so smart. And I think that's a really key point, that the mentors that you have in your life, or the people who are in your life, they truly do make a difference. Y'all, today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You are made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's show is going to be so fantastic, and one of those reasons is because of our amazing sponsor, Wilbron. Wilbron is Alabama's premier public relations firm. If y'all need any PR done, definitely check them out at www.wilbron.com. Y'all, today's guest is absolutely hilarious, but it brings me great pleasure to introduce Chad Gill, who is a business coach, mechanical engineer, and dynamic speaker. After running his own company, Concreate, for over 20 years, he sold it and founded Laminin Coaching, a company aimed to enable life balance to its clients, providing comprehensive coaching and staffing solutions to the construction industry. Y'all, put your hands together for Chad Gill.
You know, I quit. I mean, I will never do another podcast episode. What are you supposed to do with an intro like that? I don't even understand. I mean, and even in it, somebody says, "I can't believe your intro," and I'm like, "I wonder what." Oh, damn, her intro is amazing. That's yeah. That's just the rest of this is just try not to disappoint, Chad. You can do this.
No, you got this, man. I promise. Oh my gosh, Chad, I had so much fun with you in the green room just before we came on the show. And I just cannot wait to introduce you to the rest of our audience. The way that your personality and the flair and the comedy that you shared with us kept me in stitching. So y'all, if you see me going like this with my napkin, it's Chad's fault, because I have been laughing nonstop for like the last 10 or 15 minutes. So, Chad, tell us, please, how we got to this place. So, first of all, I want to share with you that we are doing what we're calling Man Month. And it's the month of June, which is the month that Father's Day falls in, right? So we figured that we would just dedicate all of our June episodes to having male guests. So first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And as one of our premier male guests for this month, I would love to learn more about you and your business and how you actually structured it so that you didn't actually have to work in the business, but you can work on the business. What does that mean? Share the-
So, in the spirit of Man Month, my wife set all these ridiculous rules about how I was going to run my company, and so yeah, my company. So, never wanted to own my own company. My dad was like the classic, workaholic, great guy, great dad, and all that kind of stuff. But he just worked all the time, and he loved his work. And so I was like, I'm absolutely not doing that. Like that's not who I want to be. I'm gonna be like a corporate guy. I'm gonna do all that. So I went that route, and I worked in the nuclear industry. I did robotics design, and then I traveled. So it was 3 months in the office, 3 months in the field, and we just rotated like that, which was awesome coming out of school. And
Yeah.
great first job. Had an incredible boss, Bill Jackson, phenomenal leader. Just you can learn so much from a mentor, everything.
Mm.
And so then did really well there. And I went to a consulting company, and because we were going to start a family, and we knew that traveling doesn't work well for that. So from so I went to consulting. I worked there for like 3 months, and they were like, hey, you're an engineer that can talk to people and your clothes kind of match. We need to put you into sales. And I was like,
Mhm.
well, that's fine, but I'm not traveling. So they ended up kind of giving me an ultimatum, and I always run the other direction from ultimatums. That's not a really a good trait. It's just a trait. And so my wife is like, you can you can start your own company. You can go back to where you were. We'll figure it out. You can do anything you want to do other than go and work for your dad. So I went and worked for my dad, and that was a disaster. It's you learn pretty quick. You're like, hey, you can be father and son, or you can be business partners. Especially if only one of you thinks you're a partner and the other one doesn't, that's a little tricky.
Mm.
So then ultimately, just I end up starting my own company from there. And my wife's like, all right, that's fun. She goes, but I didn't agree to parent alone. And
Mm.
so she said, you can leave at whatever time you want in the morning, but you're going to be home by 5:30 every day. You're not going to work weekends, and we're always going to go to bed together. I was excited about the last part. The other parts I thought were probably not reasonable. And so I said, well, honey, that's not reasonable. And she said, well, then don't do it. Go back to your other job.
Mhm.
So that began, putting those constraints on. You're going to be at every basketball game. You're going to be at every football game. All of those are easy to attend. You're going to be at every dance recital. I was like, every damn one. I mean, those are long, and so you might only dance in one, and then you're like, I got to sit through the whole thing, and then you're there with dance moms. I mean that they're
Mhm.
like telling you it is not a safe space for men. And so we go to all of those, and so you were just forced to find ways to say, I've got value in my family and I've got value in my company. And so if it costs me personal income for me to be where I need to be, then ultimately we're saving on, I don't know, maybe, therapy sessions or something later. So, it's an investment.
Absolutely.
So,
100%.
yeah, I'm not smart. I just have somebody, I made the mistake of marrying somebody smarter than me. And then she put a bunch of rules around me and I didn't even notice it. So, and then
How
you're just
smart she
forced to
was.
work. Yeah, exactly. But if you ask her, she's a delight. She's quick to tell you that. So
I love
putting those constraints around you, sometimes, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. So you find out, how am I going to make this work? How you gonna do that? And so then you hire, and I have had business coaches, different coaches along the way. And that's one thing I would tell people, that business coaches, you do go through them. They're, and one of my favorite terms is, it's like the people that take you out of Egypt aren't necessarily who's going to go into the promised land with you.
That's right.
And you need different coaches for different phases in your business. And so I think I've had probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 different business coaches along the way.
Wow.
And I would say we all parted amicably, since you don't know who any of them are and can't double check that. So I mean, maybe a lot of them who are glad to be free of Chad. And they're like, yeah, they're like, you're ready for someone else, Chad. Or at least I am. So you're like,
Well,
okay.
but that's so smart though. That is just so smart. And I love how you said that the coach that frees you from Egypt, it may not be the one to take you to the promised land, because there's a whole lot of land in between there. And they
There
may
is.
not be qualified. So they're
And
qualified to get
and
you out of Egypt, but not for the rest.
and sometimes the voice, there's a time in my life, for my first boss, Bill Jackson, was amazing, but he was exactly what I needed. He was an older male, ex-military. He knew when to be a father, when to be a grandfather, when to be a mentor, when to be a drill sergeant, those kind of things, when to be a friend. He was really good at that with different people.
Hmm.
And then from him, it went to the next one, who was really good at startups, putting in initial setup and phases and processes. And then there's another one who's, you know, really good about, proselytizing field work. And so you're just finding different people that you work with. It'd be like using the same physical trainer all the time. Eventually, you just you get tired of hearing the same voice sometimes. You just need a different viewpoint.
Right, exactly. And then that's so smart. And I think that's a really key point, that the mentors that you have in your life, or the people who are in your life, they truly do make a difference. And the one that you may choose for to help you get started may be really great at getting started, but the one who helps you get started may not be able to take you to that next level that you where you really want to go. So that makes perfect sense. 100% love that. So, and I love your wife. I haven't even met her, but I totally love her. So, and how smart are you for listening? And just that voice of encouragement, and having that support behind you, to saying, hey, look, you don't have to sacrifice your family in order for all of us to be happy. We can live however we live within our means, because you're here. And that's the most important thing. You're here. So I'm so super proud of you for for that part.
Yeah, yeah. Jenny's topic was, we would go through, we would wax and wane on, just like any other relationship, any other marriage, you go through the ups and downs and different things. And, one of the comments she made to me was, she goes, for a while there, I was physically everywhere I was supposed to be. I was at every game. I was at every dance recital. I was at every parent teacher thing and those kind of things. But I wasn't mentally where my body was. And so
Mm,
she's like, look, you need to be mentally present wherever your body is. And I had a bad habit of wherever I was thinking about the next place I had to be. And so you just miss life. And so that comment always stung a little bit. I was like, I was angry because I was like, hey, look, I'm everywhere I'm supposed to be. On paper, you shouldn't have a single complaint. But there was a huge one because my mind was always somewhere else, whether it's a client or a customer or a job or whatever. And getting that back to, which is so ridiculous because you would think if I'm always 40, if my mind is always 45 minutes ahead, then, if I just paused for 45 minutes, I'd be everywhere I'm supposed to be, both mentally and physically. But it's just not something you can make yourself do. And, without,
practice.
intentionality. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, or somebody
Intentionality.
constantly going, "Hey, hey, listen, listen," and I'm like, "You shouldn't snap at me." She goes, "I've been doing it for 30 minutes." I'm like, "Oh, my bad." It's
Right. So being in the moment is so key and so critical, for not just family life, even, but even in business too. Being there, being present, because in that 45 minutes, if you're at a business meeting, you're focused. So definitely, the shoe fits on the other foot as well
yeah,
when it
and
comes to being.
no matter how good you think you are at it, people know when your mind is, when your body is void of a mind. It's just sitting there in the meeting, and you're like, "Yeah, that dude is just not, or she is not listening, or whatever."
Right.
It's.
And,
I mean, people
you
can
see
tell.
you see them across the table, then you ask them a question, and then snap them back out of it, and they'll be like, "Oh, wait, what was the?"
Yeah, yeah. My favorite thing is like, "And so you're okay with that change order?" They're like, "What? What? What?" They're like, "Oh, you weren't listening. That just cost you some money. That's bad, But
Right,
just
right.
sign here. It'll be fine. I promise."
Yeah, right. Right here. So I love, Chad, how you are just really bringing home the point that we really need to be present and intentional about whatever it is we're doing, wherever we are, no matter what stage we are in our business. We definitely, and in our families as well, we need to be present. We need to stay focused. We need to give 100% of us wherever we are.
Yeah, it is key. And you talk about working on your business or working in your business. One of the things I struggled for a long time was, this idea that at 5:30, my wife's requirement, 5:30, I'm going to suddenly be a family guy. And, from whatever time I was allowed to get up, whatever time I wanted in the morning. She was very gracious about that. I could leave at like whatever time. I don't feel like that's as helpful as it seemed. But at 5:30, suddenly you're supposed to cut it off, and just all of a sudden you're just not going to worry about it. You're not going to do anything. And I think that clients of mine, and I'm sure people that you work with, they fight that, and there's all this entrepreneurial guilt. And you're like, I know I'm supposed to. I mean, I had a client who's you're sneaking off into the bathroom and you're like faking that you have IBS just so you can be in the bathroom, returning emails and stuff. I was like, I don't know, it's like some bad sushi. I don't know what. Well, being here for an hour, like when you're on a Zoom call, you shouldn't do Zoom calls from the bathroom. That's a whole other
No,
issue. But it
frowned
was,
upon.
yeah, it's very frownable. Yeah, it's like this is definitely a fake background. No, but it's like, I think people fight that, and one of the things that we learned is like, yes, you got to work. For me, there is no personal business. It's a hard line. It's not a dividing line. And so for me, working on my family is kind of part of working on my business because I need to get them to intertwine kind of like strands of a rope. It's stronger than three individual strands. And so we learned later that, hey, if you really do need to do it, just say, hey, I need 20 minutes right now, but it's going to be a focused 20 minutes and then I'm going to be done. Or I know that it'll ruin all day Sunday, because I'm trying to put together my Monday. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to get up at 6:30 and I'm going to take 30 minutes. I'm going to have my day straight and then you won't have to worry about it anymore. And I don't either. Finding
Right.
those moments, to make that separation, I think was a key kind of enhancement to us being able to do what we were doing.
Right. Oh, that is so smart. I love that because as an entrepreneur, I can definitely relate. I don't know if you saw the smirk on my face when you were talking, but it was so relatable. You and I were like right here. I could totally understand like that whole 5:30 thing. Like, wait, what? I'm supposed to go cook dinner now? Wait, but
Yeah,
I'm in the
exactly.
middle of doing a proposal. I'm in the middle of, you know. So I totally get that 100%. I think every entrepreneur who's watching the replay of this is going to that's going to resonate with them. And so, but I love how you said you can do those things outside of family time because your family is a part of is the main reason why we even do what we do, right? So planning for your Monday, either Sunday morning so it doesn't interrupt the rest of the Sunday or the family day, that kind of thing. Maybe doing things while they're sleeping, you know, then you don't have to worry about the complaints. Well, or not being present when you're supposed to be present.
Yeah,
So
or we're big on church. So I mean that Sunday morning prep is like, hey, this is what you better pray for, Chad, because you did not get ready well. It's making sure it's like you got to pull in some divine power sometime. You better come there with your list,
that's
and
right.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
finding those and it just works better. And sharing that, is what is meant to be a marriage counseling thing, but we just see it so much. So many unhappy entrepreneurs, and what they're saying is they're like, my wife doesn't understand. My husband doesn't get it. Did you
Mm.
tell them? Like, do they, you're like, we're going to struggle to make payroll this month. Did you share that with them? No, I don't want to scare them. Well, then how do you expect them to support you on it? How do you accept, there is, you don't have to share every little thing, but you should share some of it. You should trust each other enough to be like, hey, I just want to let you know this month is tight and I'm going to be super sensitive about it. So yeah, I'm going to be yelling at the kids to turn the shower off because it is ridiculous to run it for 30 minutes while you figure out what you're going to wear. Just plan, anyway. But it's
Other people do that too.
yeah. I mean, it's my kids do that. My daughters, they run the shower really long, and it's like okay, they're prepping for something. Our son started taking longer showers. We didn't mess with that. We just left that alone.
Yeah,
We were
they
just
need all the water.
yeah, what it's I'll pay the money not to open that door. We'll be fine. It's
Oh
like
my gosh. But yeah, that is so important. Communication as an entrepreneur is so important because when you're dealing with those stresses of, whether it's finance or whether it's staffing or whether it's, a client or whatever, those things kept bottled inside, it's not healthy. So when you have a supportive spouse who's there for you and you don't take advantage or I don't think that's the right way to say that, but when you don't let
yeah,
them in to allow them to support you, then it's like the ill health that you get is self-inflicted.
it is. It is. And there, I mean, if you've chosen a good partner, then you agreed to this, that's what you were going to do.
Right.
And if you don't feel like you can share that, then there's probably, there's something there you got to kind of work out. And you can't have, in my mind, you can't have a really crazy, lots of issues in your personal life and expected that not to bleed into your business. People,
Mm,
it's like, hey, yeah, that makes sense. You
mm,
also can't imagine, you can't expect for your business to be really struggling and think your family isn't going to experience that with you too. And it's, so entrepreneurial guilt's like a big thing with me. And in that, not that, of trying not to live through it. And that's where I think, like you do virtual assistants. I think that is so smart
mm,
because the other thing we see people thinking is that they're supposed to be good at all these things. It's
mm.
like, hey, I'm really, really good at math. I bet I'll be just a hell of a good social media manager. It's
Yeah,
no
no.
social skills and math don't normally go together anyway. And now you think you're going to be good at digital and you're going to reach out to the world to share your personality because you're good at math. I don't, probably not. That math ain't mathin'.
No, that man they
But
don't go together.
yeah, I mean, I think it's really smart. I think that's that next level that you get to as an entrepreneur is when you decide I don't need to be the best or even good at all of this. I need to be, really good at my thing, kind of like the riches are in the niches, and
Mhm.
then get somebody else to do the other. That
That's
doesn't always transfer over to the family side, though. It's not like, hey, I'm really not good at cooking, so you should do all the cooking. Oh, I feel like you need to practice. That didn't go the way I thought it was. Thought maybe we were gonna hire a chef,
right. That
but
part, I'm all for that.
yeah, you're like, yeah, it's like, yeah,
You're
there's some
hiring
things
now.
that, yeah, there's some things that just that there's different things like there's little income chunks, where you're like, hey, when I make this much money, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna, yeah, housekeeper. That's definitely on the list for this family. I can assure you. It's like
Top
we'll
of
be
the
walking to work before we let go of a housekeeper. My goodness.
right, right. So crucial. People just don't understand. I mean, delegating, being able to delegate, whether you're at the office or you're at the house. So
Yeah,
important. So important. And I'm all
yeah.
for that whole housekeeper thing, but
Oh yeah. And
for
people
sure.
people don't like to delegate because they're like, oh, I don't want to get. I, don't- we see it because it's like, okay, they're bad at delegating. Okay, that's very common. Then they're like,
Mm,
well, I'm just a control freak. You're like, not really. That's a cop out. It's not that you're a control freak. It's that you don't trust the people around you. And they're like, no, no, I'm very trusting. I'm like, no, you're not, and you shouldn't be.
mm,
But once again, engineers have got this figured out. There's a formula to build trust. You do the right thing multiple times over, our trust will grow. Like I trust my kid to, take the trash. I do not trust my kid to drive my wife's car. you know, there's different levels of trust, and
absolutely.
so I think,
Oh,
building that and getting that into it is good. And that keeps people from delegating, or they think, hey, I don't want to delegate this task because I don't like doing it. So I shouldn't give it to somebody else. Well, it turns out somewhere in the world, somebody wakes up all day, every day, and they're like, if I could just reconcile like 3 bank accounts a day and get all the zeros to line up, that would be a great day. I don't know what's wrong with that person or what kind of broken thing is in their psyche, but I'm glad they're out there because that's not me. You
that's
know?
right. That's right. There is somebody out there who loves to do the things that you hate. And I love how you talked about building the trust. So if you start out small and you keep on delegating small things, and the person you're delegating that to continues to show up and continues to excel and continues to deliver on those things that you delegated, that builds trust. And then you're able to delegate more things to them and add on a little bit more here and a little bit more there. And then before you know it, you have freed up yourself to actually focus on the things that are going to impact the bottom line, which is what your job is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have clients who, they're running a $20 million company and they're like, hey, we need to redo our website. Awesome. He goes, yeah, I'm gonna do all the copy myself. Mm, I've seen you. I don't think you can put that much profanity on the internet. That's not okay. And you're like, like, that's not gonna work. He's like, well, nobody will be able to do it as well as I can. I was like, well, let me ask you this one. Most times, sometimes, you can convince a person, okay, they can't do it as well as I can, but they can do it and you're not doing it. But 80% as good as you is way better than you actually because you're always distracted. And it's
Right.
probably more than good enough. It's like, unless you're a website designer, your website doesn't have to be this awe-inspiring work of art.
That's right.
If you pour concrete for a living, they don't really care how good your graphics are. They're like, can you pour concrete? You didn't have to
That's
spell it well. Hell, I misspelled it and named it my company.
right. Concreate.
It's
I
like,
love
I
it.
mean,
But you're absolutely right. And the time you spend trying to build a website is time you're taking away from going out and meeting that next client that's going to pay you another $1 million.
yeah,
Right?
like the opportunity cost is enormous, and and then some of these tasks, it's just be done with it, man. You're just going to be angry with yourself for 3 months and then hire somebody anyway. Let's just skip the 3 months of misery.
Exactly. Exactly. Just skip straight to the good stuff. Give
Exactly.
it to
Right
somebody
there.
else.
There. Again, not something that always transfers right over to marriage well, but yes, in business, it's a good idea.
Yes. So true. So true. You guys see what I'm talking about? How I could not start this show because my makeup was just an absolute mess. So anyhow, I digress. So when you are working with your clients with Laminin Consulting, then how do you help them identify the pitfalls and things that they need to work on in order for their business to get to the next level? Laminin Coaching.
So most of mine is, I mean, you would be surprised, it's through sarcasm and humor. I mean, my kids are well versed in sarcasm. My wife is like, hey, our kids don't understand sarcasm like ours do. They're going to be great at it. They might be
Mhm.
alone in life, but they're going to be great at sarcasm. But no, I think the biggest thing, like when I'm working with a client, it's I'll have one ask and say, hey, they're interviewing me to be a coach. I'm like, hey, are you really good at sales? Can you help me put together a sales team? Can you help me figure out my market? Can you help me do all these? Can you help me with operations? And I'm like, well, yeah, I can do those things. And then what I can't do, I'll obviously tell you I can't do it, but I know somebody that can, and we're going to bring them in and we're going to work that all through. It's kind of how we even came up with the name Laminin. But it was most of the time they just need help getting their idea out. And that's when I first started coaching, I had a very difficult time of I was trying to get everybody to do what I wanted them to do. And I was like,
Mm.
dude, I'm so smart. I'm so good at this. You should just listen to me and we'll go. And, they're not going to work for your idea like they'll work for their own. What they really need is just somebody who can kind of, I don't know, like take a like a rough thing and just kind of shave some edges of it off so that they can see what it is they're trying to build and get them to do things. Like my whole thing is like, let's get you into balance. Most of my clients are already going to be successful in their business, and what they're doing is they're having a hard time transitioning from. I mean, I have clients who have a 20-year-old business still running it like a startup,
Hmm.
and so it's like they're running 70, 80 hours a week, and they're physically not in great shape, or they're emotionally stressed, and they never. And that is starting a company is hard. It's supposed to be. It's kind of like boot camp if you're going to the military, but you don't stay in boot camp unless you're like terrible at being in the military. But it's, you know, you're supposed to transition out of that and go to the next level and the next level. So my whole thing is like just forcing them to or encouraging them to say, hey man, look at what you're doing. And a lot of times it's just saying back to them what they say to you with just a little different phrase. And they're like, okay, well okay, yeah, I mean, that's not what I meant, but yeah, okay, I get it. So it's a
Right.
lot of that and kind of discovery with it. Like it was difficult for me in coaching because I'm a doer. I want to go fix things, but
Like most
getting
men.
them to kind of like all men, exactly. Yeah, three of my business coaches have been women, and they've all been phenomenal. And my current business coach, Dee Clevitt, is fantastic. It's just she figures out ways to get you to get to you're really thrilled because you made this big discovery, and then you in the coaching session like pretty sure she already that wasn't even my idea. I think that might have been her idea, but I'm used to being manipulated by women anyway, so it's okay. It fits well for me.
But it's coaching. It's not
Yeah,
manipulation.
it's not manipulating. So if you pay them to do it, it's coaching exactly. Yeah.
I
If you're
love
not
it.
paying them, then it's marriage. But it's what it is.
But I love that analogy though of being in a boot camp. And you don't stay in the boot camp when you're running your business or you're starting a business. Yeah, it's hard in the beginning. But then from boot camp, you move up through the ranks, right? And before you know it, you're private number one and then two. And I'm not in the military. It's not, I'm sorry, but you move up and then you're a sergeant and a commander and all the higher level ones because you've done the work. You put in the work to overcome whatever you needed to overcome to get to the next level. And now you're at the next level. And now that gives you the authority to operate in that level because you've earned it. And so now, because of that, with each progressive thing, you continue to get better and better at what you do. And as you get better, you don't have to be in the business so much because you're training your people how to do what you do and you're overseeing all the things. So now you're the overseer instead of the doer in the business. Does that sound kind of about right?
It does. And it's shocking when you watch it happen in front of you. And I know that I've done it. I'm sure that you've done it. Anyone that started a company and launched something has done it. You will stay absolutely miserable in a place that you know rather than step into the next unknown thing. And
Mm.
I don't know how many times you will see that happen, where a business a business person will start coaching and will look at it like, I got to get out of this. I'm not spending time with my family. I'm out, I'm not physically fit where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be in faith. I'm not any number of things. They're just desperate. And all they have to do is they have to rechannel, but they're like, I'm going to do all of my own billing. I'm going to visit every job site and talk to every employee I have. I'm going to know everything about everybody that works for me. I'm gonna do all of those things. And they're just creating this, and it's funny, I think they create this place they feel like they can't leave as a justification. I'm like, hey, I need you to take a 90-minute session where you're just going to strategically work with your leadership team. We have a lot of clients on EOS.
Hmm.
Love that program. They're like the entrepreneurial operating system. And they're like,
Okay.
hey, there's
I'm like,
no
did you
way.
sit here in headlights? I was like, wait, what? EOS?
So it's a
Sorry.
great structure way to run a company. We have an implementer that we use that does this with most of our clients if they don't have a system running already. But it's like, hey, you need to have a 90-minute meeting. They're like, we cannot. There's no way. I can't be gone for 90 minutes. Like, you can absolutely be gone for 90 minutes. I mean, you spent 30 minutes telling me why you can't be gone. If we did that twice, you'd be almost there.
Right.
And but they'll create this, and but there's comfort in knowing, like, they're, a guy told me one time, he's like, yeah, you're really really good at firefighting. Like, if there's a thing, and he was trying to, I thought he was trying to give me a compliment, which I was like, I was all in. I was like, yeah, absolutely, tell me how great I am. He's like, when you need a problem, you got a problem to solve, you need to solve right now, man, you're great at that. He goes, and you're always there. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm pretty fantastic. I've been trying to make that my ringtone. And then he said, we need you to now get into fire prevention. And I was like, I don't really think, but there's no glory in fire prevention. He goes, no, but there's a whole lot of profit there. And I was like,
Mhm.
and that just always, I pictured, on the one hand, there's this person jumping out of a helicopter into the forest with a chainsaw on their back, and they're just this badass. And then there's
Mhm.
another dude going, we should just thin the woods here and we would never have another forest fire. That would be a lot better.
Mhm.
And while California doesn't seem to learn that lesson, a lot of places have. you know, but it's that fire prevention thing. I think that's working on your business, and it's a whole lot better because you don't have to keep rebuilding everything after it burns down.
That's right. That's so true. So true. Fire prevention is being able to look ahead to see, okay, this is where I am right now. This is where I want to be. These are the potential obstacles we might have to overcome in order to get there. How do we fix that from here so that we can get there?
And that metaphor goes a long ways. Like, they're like, well, what happens if I don't know about, like, what happens if I'm leaving, I'm over here doing fire prevention, and I don't know that a fire popped up somewhere. And I was like, well, you came to work today, right? He goes, yeah. I'm like, and you would be concerned if your house was on fire, right? He's like,
Mm.
yes. I was like, that's why you have fire alarms. You have something at your house that tells you there's a problem. And the fire alarm doesn't go off and go, hey, I just thought I'd let you know that yesterday your house burned down. It says there is actively something going on. It can be smoke, it can be heat, it can be whatever, but you've got to chart.
Mm.
That's your scorecard. And
Yeah.
that's what tells you, hey, fire prevention is good. We haven't solved every problem, and we've got a problem over here that might need your help. and then
Right.
that escalates through your company. So you got to get those fire alarms in there, and that's trust building. Do I have people that will tell me that there's heat here, and that
Right.
kind of stuff. So
Somebody
that's how
to
you
help.
slowly back out.
Right. Somebody to help look for the smoke.
Absolutely. I mean, I have 4 kids. 2 of them are boys. There's smoke all the time. I'm like, man, there's always smoke. There's always a door open, and there's odds are the refrigerators there are open too, empty but open.
Exactly, because they've eaten everything.
My God, I mean, I've got a kid that I was like, "There's no protein in that meal." "No, Dad, there's protein in potatoes." I was like, "That's
No,
so
I
that's
don't.
right up there with my daughter who said, "Did you know we have to pay for car insurance?" I'm like, I'm aware on a monthly basis. Yes,
Yes,
she's getting her own
absolutely.
job, and I'm like, I don't know if you. I love watching her become aware of it, though. I can tell you that.
Yes, and then eventually when her, finances start to pay off some of those insurance premiums, yeah, that
Oh
is
yeah,
it's so fun to watch our children grow into adulthood and start understanding all of the things of adulting and learning that I remember when I got my first place, I was very young. I was probably 17ish.
oh wow,
And I had my own place and I had to furnish my apartment because I graduated from high school when I was 16. And so I was like, declared myself an adult and went, got emancipated. Anyway, long story short, I got my apartment and I had to go furnish it, right? And I was like, I needed a broom and a mop and a dustpan. And I was like, I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, did you know I have to have a broom? I need a mop. I need a I'm like telling her these new discoveries I just took for granted as a child living at home. All
yeah.
these things were always there. They were just always there. I didn't have to buy anything. So, anyways,
It's
pretty
funny. It comes in, and you're just like, oh my gosh, and you watch those things happen. But it is funny. I mean, we had my first apartment was a townhouse, and my power bill was just and then our air conditioner wasn't working. I didn't grew up with no air conditioning, so when I moved to a place that had air conditioning, I was like, man, I could raise penguins from that point. I was like, this is fantastic. And so one day the air conditioner stopped working, and I was like, that's okay. I grew up on a farm. We can absolutely fix things, but we didn't have air conditioning. So, if your air conditioner broke on the farm, you just rolled the other window down. It's like that wasn't a thing. So the
right.
guy comes over and he's like, "Hey, yeah, yeah." He goes, "Did you check your filter?" I'm like, I want to play it cool here and say I know what you're talking about, but let's assume I don't. Just, like, let's say you were working with an idiot that doesn't know. What would you tell him? Because I'd tell him to pull that sofa back and let's see if it's behind there. And there was like a place where you would put a filter, but where there was a filter was this screen that was coated in God knows what that was not letting air through. He goes, "Yeah, it's 57 cents for a filter." He goes, "That's probably cost you like $300 in the last 2 months."
Oh
And I was
gosh.
like, "You need to work on your delivery, sir. You are bad at sales. You should have just charged me $300 for the filter and paid my power bill." But when you learn to that, it's like you don't know what you don't know, and you just have to, and that's where mentors and stuff like that help you. But and that, like, how many of those things do you have happening in your business where you're like, hey man, something's clogged up, but you don't know it because it's working, and maybe it's not working great, but it's working. So yeah, I mean, it's just looking for all those things. And I think a big motivation for me, again, we're big on family, and my kids, and I had a friend, and his kid was like, I would never want to own a company. I'm looking at my dad, and I don't want to ever own a company. And I was like, hmm, that's bad. You know, we build these things because we want to have more time and more money. And now we have less time and less money.
Right.
That's
And we
not
want to
going the
leave a
right direction.
legacy for our
Yeah.
kids. And if they're looking at us and they're like, I want no parts of that, then that's not good.
Yeah. You're not doing something right, and so that became an idea. I was like, hey, I want all of my kids to own a company, and not just so they can cheat on their taxes, but that is a big part of it. But is so that you can, that's where your wealth generation is. That's where you build things. And so if I'm not modeling something that you want to have, then I need to take a look at how I'm doing it.
That's right. That's right. Because our kids are watching. They are watching every single thing that we're doing. And not only our kids are watching, but our grandkids are watching. And they look and they're like, "Uh, so if you're happy and you have all this time, you have all this, we go on vacations and do all the things, and we have new clothes, and we have the full refrigerator, and blah blah blah. It all looks great. It's because maybe you're doing something right. Maybe
Yeah.
you have that balance, and figured out all of the smoke signals and took care of them while they were still just smoke. And so now you're operating in a more efficient way, and the clients are coming. And when you're operating not only efficiently, but with integrity, and people are seeing that, they're telling their friends about you, your business is growing from word of mouth, or whatever it looks like. Your kids are watching, your grandkids are watching. All of the legacy the example you're setting is impacting the legacy you're leaving.
It is
So
100%. And it is funny how observant kids can be, for the things like, hey, you and mom seem to be drinking a lot more wine. I'm like, have you tried living with you people? And but apparently they never saw us pay bills. I don't understand how they missed that. I feel like that's, but I think you're right. You want to build something that it's, you know, we're supposed to be working so we can live. We're not supposed to be living so our company should be generating a lifestyle and building us up and creating things of value to other people. And like I think that's an abundance mindset. Like, we'll
right.
meet with a client who's got cash flow issues, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, I just got to figure out what I can cut." I'm like, man, you got to stop worrying about what you can cut and start thinking about what you can do that's valuable to other people and makes either their life, their business, their situation better, and then you will get paid for that, and then you'll have more money. But that
Mhm.
whole scarcity thing of, I got to find a way to cut. That you can never save your way to being wealthy,
That's
or and I don't mean just financial wealth. I mean, you can't. To me, the scorecard for a good life is more than just your checking account. I mean, it's
right.
you need your checking account to do a lot of the other things, but you definitely have to have it in there.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. So this has been so awesome, Chad, getting to know you, learning more about Laminin Coaching and the style and the value that you bring to business owners who maybe just need someone to bounce some things off of, another perspective, get them from Egypt to the promised land, or somewhere in between.
Try to
So
keep
we
them out of the desert as best as possible. It's like,
come out of the desert. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I am not built for direct sunlight. I mean, I'm probably getting a tan right now from me. These are 40 watts half down, so it's tough for me.
Oh my gosh. So but we want to stay in touch with you. How do we reach you? How can we stay connected to Chad?
Yeah. So our website obviously is Laminin Coaching, and then we have a podcast called Get the Intel, where we just and that's a lot less of me talking. So if you're just like, hey, I think he's got some good ideas, but I want to hear him, our podcast is a great place because I just ask people questions and they go. But yeah, starting there, that's fantastic. And like I
Yeah,
said, it's kudos. Thank you for having me on. It's it's actually just been really refreshing to talk to you and to kind of hear about what you're doing. I know we're in similar businesses with different positions, so it's very fun. I mean, and now I'm gonna go listen to all your other podcasts, see what ideas of yours I can steal, and then charge somebody for me to tell them your idea. That'd be perfect.
I love it. You're welcome
Yeah.
to it.
Awesome.
And we have our producer backstage sharing your website here. It's a beautiful website. I love the colors, the orange and the
Thank
teal.
you. Yeah.
My
That's
favorites.
all based on you're in Alabama. The name Laminin comes from a pastor, Louis Giglio. He's in
Oh
Atlanta.
yeah, I love him.
He
He wrote the book
he
about invite the hold on,
the
something
who's sitting
the
at your
devil.
table, I think.
Yeah, that's devil to your table or something like that. What is it?
Yeah. I read that, and then I looked across, and the kids were already eating with it. So I was like, well, that seems late. But yeah, no, he gave a sermon called on laminin, and it was funny because we tell our clients, it's like, hey, what does laminin mean? And biologically, laminin is like this protein, and it doesn't really do anything. It's a connecting protein.
Hmm.
It facilitates all of the other things in your body that do stuff,
Mhm.
and that's what you should be. That's what you should want to become in your company. You want to be the CEO, the leader, the president, whatever you want to call yourself, you should be the thing that makes sure everybody else can do their thing. And then that's the success. And it's so much more fun to run a company that way,
Mhm.
and blame things on other people. It's fantastic. No, it's but it's so much more fun. And the crazy thing is it's more profitable to run that way. So it's just you just got to be comfortable getting out of your uncomfortable known space into what will ultimately be more comfortable.
Yes, I love it. I love it so much. And we have your handles on Instagram, Laminin Coach, that was popping up on the screens, and your Facebook and your at Laminin Coaching. We definitely want to stay in touch. Chad, this has been so fantastic. Definitely check you out at LinkedIn, at Laminin Coaching, so that we can stay connected, because the value you add is just invaluable. It is so priceless. It's so good having you on the show. For our audience, do you have any final words of wisdom or advice for any entrepreneur who's watching the replay and they want to scale and they just aren't sure what to do next? What would you suggest?
I think so. One of the keynote speeches we get is that it's really just about the implementation. Implementation is all that matters, results driven. And I think what I would tell is you just do it. You just, dreams are great, intentions are fantastic, but if you don't do it, you know, then it's not going to matter. Like you'll go to conferences and seminars and all kinds of stuff. You'll meet with a coach, you'll have a consultant. Take one thing and do it, but do it fully, and then try to do the next one and the next one. Don't, try to find that focus. And like I said, riches are in the niches. Go, you don't have to be good at everything, and you don't have to feel bad about not being good at everything. Just figure out what you're good at and then get rid of everything else. And if you don't know what you're good at, that's me. I'm not certain what I'm good at. Just keep giving off your tasks to other people, and what you're left with is what you're good at. And
Oh, I
that's an
love,
easier way to fund it.
yeah,
But
that's so
definitely, yeah, delegation is probably, I guess, if we could rewind that with a lot less words, I would tell you that the biggest superpower you need is being able to delegate. Learn how to delegate and delegate well.
I love it. I love it. Chad, you were made for something great. So go and be awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.